Chapter 1. Japan's Top 3 Castles. Nagoya Castle, Osaka Castle, Kumamoto Castle. Reading. Most castles were constructed during the Sengoku period, or Warring States period. They were military establishments, centers of government, or residences of feudal lords. When people hear the term castle, they would think of a castle's tenshukaku, or main tower. However, the tenshukaku is only one part of a castle. A castle also includes yagura, or turrets, jomon, or city gates, ishigaki, or stone walls, and other structures. When it comes to choosing Japan's top 3 castles, there are various views about selecting them. However, the selection is usually based on some standards used in the Edo period, such as size, attractiveness, and people who were involved in building the castles. The castles usually selected are Nagoya Castle, Osaka Castle, and Kumamoto Castle. Their names indicate their locations. The tenshukaku of these 3 castles were burnt down during wars, but they have been restored as the replicas we see today.
Passage listening. Basic data on Nagoya Castle. Nagoya Castle is said to have been constructed by the order of Tokugawa Ieyasu for his 9th son, Tokugawa Yoshinao. The castle's construction was started in 1610, and the Daiten Shukaku, the main donjon, was completed in 1612. It was used as a residence until the time of the 17th head of the Owari domain of the Tokugawa clan, Tokugawa Yoshikatsu, in the beginning of the Meiji era. Basic data on Osaka Castle. Toyotomi Hideyoshi ordered the construction of Osaka Castle in 1583. Not long after construction finished, Hideyoshi died, and the castle passed on to the son, Hideyori. The Tokugawa clan took over the castle after the Toyotomi clan's defeat in 1615. The Tokugawa clan reconstructed Osaka Castle with a new main tower. The present main tower was designated as a registered tangible cultural property in 1997. Basic data on Kumamoto Castle. It is said that the construction of Kumamoto Castle was started in 1601 and ended in 1607. The castle, created by Kato Kiyomasa, was magnificently designed, including 3 central towers, 49 turrets, and 29 city gates within a 9-kilometer radius. Kato Kiyomasa was also involved in the renovation of Edo Castle and the construction of Nagoya Castle after Kumamoto Castle was built.
Conversation listening.
Takashi, I'm taking Japanese history this semester and learning about castles. I'm very interested in Japanese castles. Have you visited any castles?
Yes, I have. I went to Nagoya Castle with my parents when I was in high school.
How did you like it? I am going to Nagoya this summer to meet my friend who's coming from my hometown, Denver, and we plan to visit Nagoya Castle.
There are hundreds of castles in Aichi Prefecture. Nagoya Castle is one of the most famous among them, and is well known for its kinshachi.
Oh, I know about them. They're golden, tiger-headed, dolphin-like fish, aren't they? I've seen them in a book.
Yes, they're made of wood covered with 18-karat gold plate.
Wow, they must have cost a fortune.
Do you know how much they're worth?
I have no idea. How much?
It's said that the present kinshachi was made of 186 million yen worth of gold, based on the current price of gold. This figure is just the cost of the gold used, so if you count the artistic value as well, they're priceless. Chapter 2. Japan's top 3 festivals. The Gion Festival, the Tenjin Festival, the Kanda Festival. Reading. Matsuri is the Japanese word for festival. There are countless matsuri all over Japan. Though each of them is unique, the origin of the matsuri is the same. It's a ceremony to worship a god or gods by making offerings and performing rituals. Matsuri are also held to get rid of curses or evil spirits. A matsuri usually includes dashi, or floats, mikoshi, or portable Shinto shrines, and fireworks. People's interest in religion has declined, so these days matsuri are mainly just fun tourist events. When it comes to naming Japan's top 3 festivals, 2 of them are unquestionably the Gion Festival and the Tenjin Festival. However, the choice of the third varies depending on opinions in different places. Some people think the Nebuta Festival in Aomori or the Hakata Dontaku in Fukuoka is best, but usually the Kanda Festival in Tokyo is chosen. The Gion, Tenjin, and Kanda festivals have been held for more than 1,000 years.
Passage listening. Basic data on the Gion Festival. The Gion Festival in Kyoto originated as a ceremony aimed at preventing disasters after many people died of an epidemic in 869. At first, the ceremony was held only when an epidemic broke out, but it became an annual event in 970. Its current form, with floats called Yamaboko, appeared in the mid-1300s. The festival starts on the 1st of July and lasts 1 month. Basic data on the Tenjin Festival. The Tenjin Festival is as old as the Gion Festival. The main events of the festival are held for 2 days from July 24th to 25th in Osaka. The festival has come to be known as the Festival of Fire and Water because it includes a procession of boats with bonfires and lanterns on the Okawa River and fireworks that are reflected in the river. The festival also entertains people with a Mikoshi parade. Basic data on the Kanda Festival. The Kanda Festival was started in the early 17th century to celebrate the victory of Tokugawa Ieyasu at the Battle of Sekigahara. The festival used to be held on September 15th on the Chinese calendar, but now it takes place at Kanda Shrine in Tokyo in the middle of May every other year. The main attraction is the parade of people, mikoshi, and floats. Conversation listening.
Linda, do you have many matsuri or festivals in the U.S.?
Well, festivals in the U.S. are different from those in Japan.
What do you mean?
Except for Christmas, most festivals in the U.S. have nothing to do with religion.
What are festivals in the U.S. like, then?
There are many small local festivals in each city or town, but we don't have many major festivals like Japan's Matsuri.
What are the major holidays?
Well, we have New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas.
During the New Year's holiday, we pay our first visit of the year to a shrine. What do you usually do in the U.S. for New Year's?
It's not like in Japan. There are some parades depending on the place, but we usually stay home and spend time with our families. The holidays are generally family-oriented, especially Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Chapter 3. Japan's Top 3 Mountains. Fujisan, Tateyama, Hakusan. Reading. There are a lot of mountains in Japan. Mountains and hills cover almost 80% of the country. Most of them are volcanic, and many of them are active volcanoes. Japanese people have a long history of coexisting with mountains. Mountains have supplied people with indispensable things for daily life, such as resources and food, so it is natural that the Japanese have treasured and worshipped mountains. People believed that mountains were places where gods lived, or that mountains themselves were gods. Buddhist monks and ascetics climbed mountains and kept away from the everyday world to be spiritually awakened. The three most important mountains in Japan are considered to be Fujisan, Mount Fuji, Tateyama, and Hakusan. Sometimes Ontake-san is substituted for Tateyama or Hakusan. The three great mountains are often called Japan's three holy mountains. There are shrines at the tops of those mountains. Every year, thousands of people climb the mountains.
Passage listening. Basic data on Fujisan. Fujisan is the highest mountain in Japan at 3,776 meters and is considered the most beautiful as well. It is part of the Fuji-Hakone-Izu National Park. It stands on the border of two prefectures, Shizuoka and Yamanashi. Japanese people feel a strong attachment to Fujisan, and it is a well-known symbol of Japan. It has often been used as a subject in Japanese art and poetry. Fujisan was registered as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2013. Basic data on Tateyama. Tateyama stands in Toyama Prefecture at a height of 3,015 meters. It is actually a group of mountains that is a part of the Hida Mountains or North Alps. It has been an object of worship since ancient times. Climbing Tateyama, people can enjoy a variety of scenery, such as Shomyo Falls, which is the highest waterfall in Japan at 350 meters, the mysterious Mikuriga Pond, and the crater Jigokudani, or Hell Valley, which gives off steam. Basic data on Hakusan. Hakusan is one of the geographical features of Hakusan National Park. Hakusan itself was worshipped as a natural object in ancient times. People worshipped the mountain as the god of water and the god of agriculture. Ascetics climbed Hakusan in order to get in touch with the natural spiritual power of the mountain by undergoing severe hardships. There is perpetual snow on the top of the mountain. Conversation listening.
Have you studied Japanese geography?
Yes, I took it last semester. My favorite subject is Japanese history, but geography was interesting too.
Then I'm sure you may know that a large area of Japan is covered with mountains and hills.
Yes, Japan is a very mountainous country, isn't it?
2 years ago, I climbed Mount Fuji with some of my friends. Do you like mountain climbing?
Yes. When I was back home, I often went mountain climbing and trekking with my family or friends.
Great. I'm thinking of climbing Mount Fuji again this year. Would you like to come?
Really? I'd love to do that. When are you going to go?
Right after the semester ends, maybe in August.
I'm planning to go back home in August. So how about the end of July?
That sounds great. I think Ken, Takashi, and Jane can come with us. Chapter 4. Japan's Top 3 Oldest Hot Springs. Dogo Onsen, Arima Onsen, Shirahama Onsen. Reading. There are thousands of onsen or hot springs in Japan. Almost all Japanese like onsen. It is said that onsen have various medicinal qualities. They seem to possess properties for healing wounds, aches, and pains. Onsen were originally used simply as public baths, but these days they are among Japan's most popular tourist destinations. Also, there are outdoor onsen. While warming themselves in the onsen, the bathers enjoy the surrounding view and cool breeze. Whether they have knowledge of onsen or not, almost all Japanese have heard the names of 3 famous onsen: Dogo Onsen, Arima Onsen, and Shirahama Onsen. These 3 hot springs were mentioned in the Kojiki, or Records of Ancient Matters, the oldest chronicle in Japan. They are also mentioned in the Nihon Shoki, the Chronicles of Japan, Japan's 2nd oldest chronicle. Therefore, they are said to be the country's 3 oldest onsen. Among these 3, Dogo Onsen is supposedly the most ancient onsen in Japan.
Passage listening. Basic data on Dogo Onsen. The main building of Dogo Onsen was built with 3 stories in 1894. The building was designated as an important cultural property in 1994 and has become a symbol of Dogo Onsen. Natsume Soseki, the foremost Japanese novelist of the Meiji period, often visited Dogo Onsen when he worked as an English teacher in the city of Matsuyama. He admired the architectural features of the main building, and he wrote about it in his famous novel, Bochan. Basic data on Arima Onsen. Arima Onsen, known as the Kansai region's backyard retreat, is located deep in the Rokko Mountains in Kobe. A maze of many narrow slopes makes the area attractive. Arima Onsen was beloved by Japan's imperial family and nobility, and still attracts many people. It has been mentioned in books by many authors such as Seisho Nagon and Junichiro Tanizaki. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a warlord of the Sengoku period, loved Arima Onsen and visited quite often. He improved the onsen and surrounding areas. Basic data on Shirahama Onsen. Shirahama Onsen is a generic term for the area of hot springs on the Shirahama Peninsula. The Muro Noyu Spring in the Yuzaki Onsen area is said to be the birthplace of Shirahama Onsen. Muro Noyu is mentioned in the Nihon Shoki Chronicles of Japan. It has been known since the Asuka period. Many nobles, including Emperor Tenji, Emperor Monmu, and other royalty, used to visit there to enjoy the hot spring baths. Conversation listening.
Have you been to any onsen in Japan, Linda?
Yes, last winter some other exchange students and I went to Dogo Onsen.
Really? Did you know that Dogo Onsen is one of Japan's 3 oldest and most famous onsen?
Yes, I did. I'd like to visit the other 2 someday, too.
Do you have onsen in the U.S.?
Yes, we do. But we don't go into the baths naked. We usually wear bathing suits. And men and women bathe together. It's like a swimming pool.
Did you feel uncomfortable getting into the onsen with your clothes off?
Well, actually I did. But I wasn't alone. I was with friends, so I got used to it after a while.
That's where the expression Hadaka no Tsukiai comes from.
What's Hadaka no Tsukiai?
It means a completely open and honest relationship.
Well, I sure experienced Hadaka no Tsukiai with them.
Chapter 5. Japan's Top 3 Gardens. Kenrokuen, Korakuen, Kairakuen. Reading. The 3 most famous gardens in Japan are said to be Kenrokuen in Kanazawa, Korakuen in Okayama, and Kairakuen in Mito. These gardens are all large landscape gardens designed with paths for walking around. The Kenrokuen Garden in Kanazawa took 150 years to complete and contains several tea houses. It also has a pond, streams, footpaths, and both wooded and open grassy areas. Kenrokuen is one of the largest parks in Japan. Okayama's Korakuen was completed in 1700. The garden is located just next to Okayama Castle, which can be seen in the background. It has a pond, streams, walking paths, and a hill that serves as a lookout. One feature of Korakuen that is unusual for Japanese gardens is its large open lawn area. It also has rice fields and tea fields. Kairakuen in Mito is a garden whose name means a garden to enjoy with other people. Only clansmen were allowed to visit the garden at the beginning. However, later on, the garden was opened to the public. This was a new idea at the time and later led to the creation of public parks.
Passage listening. Basic data on Kenrokuen. Kenrokuen is a strolling-style garden with such features as ponds, meandering streams, and artificial hills. It contains one of the oldest fountains in Japan, and this fountain is operated by natural water pressure. It also has the Flying Geese Bridge. This bridge is made of 11 stones arranged to look like geese flying in formation. The garden is also known for the ropes that hold up its trees to protect them from heavy snow. Basic data on Korakuen. Built by the order of the second feudal lord of the domain of Okayama, Ikeda Tsunamasa, this garden's construction was begun in 1687 and completed in 1700. Usually the garden was used to entertain important guests, but ordinary people could visit on special days. Korakuen was greatly damaged by flooding in 1934 and by bombing in 1945 during World War II. However, the garden has kept its original structure and appearance. Basic data on Kairakuen. Kairakuen was built in 1842 by the local lord Tokugawa Nariaki. The park is particularly beautiful during the plum blossom season from late February to March. There are about 100 different plum varieties in the plum tree garden. Additionally, Kairakuen contains a bamboo grove and an area of cedar trees. There is also a traditional Japanese building called Kobunte. The Kobunte is a 3-story wooden building designed by Nariaki. Conversation listening.
We're going to have a Hanami party, a cherry blossom viewing party, next weekend. Do you want to come?
Where are you going for the Hanami party?
We're planning to go to Korakuen in Okayama Prefecture. It's one of the 3 most famous gardens of Japan.
I learned about Japan's top 3 gardens in Japanese geography class last year. The other 2 are Kairakuen and Kenrokuen, right?
Yes, I've been to Kairakuen, which is close to my parents' house. They live in Ibaraki Prefecture, but I have never been to Korakuen.
I haven't been to any of those parks, but since studying about them in my class, I've really wanted to visit them.
So, would you like to come? I'm going with 4 friends from computer science class.
Yes, I would like to go. Are we going to stay overnight?
Yes, one of the students who's coming is a girl called Ayaka, and you can share a room with her.
Great! I'm looking forward to the trip.
Chapter 6. Japan's Top 3 Pottery Styles. Raku-ware, Hagi-ware, Karatsu-ware. Reading. There are many kinds of pottery produced in Japan, so it is hard to choose a top 3. Nevertheless, the following types are often identified as the top 3. Raku-ware, Hagi-ware, and Karatsu-ware. Raku-ware is characterized by molding by hand and spatula, not on a potter's wheel. Raku-ware began to be produced in Kyoto during the Tensho era, 1573 to 1592. One way in which raku is not like other styles of Japanese pottery is that it is quite thick and its shape is deformed or irregularly formed. Hagi-ware is named after the city of Hagi in Yamaguchi Prefecture. In the late 16th century, the local warlord brought 2 Korean potters over from Korea. This was the beginning of Hagi-ware production. One feature of Hagi-ware is that it changes color over time due to contact with tea or sake. Karatsu ware is produced in